now, the first visit to the UAE by an Israeli Prime Minister is a sign of shifting alliances in the Middle East. Al-Ketbi is the founder and president of the Emirates Policy Centre and the first Arab woman to lead a think tank. From Abu Dhabi, she spoke to our correspondent Matthias Inbar about the visit and what she believed might come out of it.
This is a historical visit, of course, for both Israel and UAE, happening for the first time to the region. And I think it will enhance that. Agreement has been signed in many aspects, geoeconomics, in artificial intelligence, in medicine, in health security, in many aspects. And of course, it has also important stems that showing the Israeli openness that for collaboration with the region, and it's a good sign also for Israel that it's also looking for a peace and for a healthy relation with the UAE, taking in consideration UAE now is taking the lead in this region, being a dynamic and small state, but the most dynamic state in this region. Let me say something also that now this visit coming during the Vienna negotiation with Iran. And let me state here, yes, we have that a new rapprochement with Iran, but still UAE also has a concern and share the same concern of Israel that regarding the Iran missiles and the drone programs, as well as the destabilizing regional activities. But UAE sees that the ideal approach to these challenges is to avoid escalation and confrontation and take path that strengthens regional dialogue and cooperation, same like what it did with Israel.
Well, Matthias also asked Ms. Al-Ketbi about ties between the UAE and Iran and whether that should be a cause of concern for Israel.
UAE foreign policy stems from an attempt to open various regional power as a result of emergency of a variety of issues such as environmental, climate and energy issues, as well as COVID-19 pandemic. So now I am talking about there are areas, yes, there is a conflict between us and Iran, and there is an area for cooperation, environment, the pandemic, the water, but there are still those issues which is still will be there until we resolve it. But we cannot antagonize Iran. You are far from Iran. We are in front of Iran, and we are living in the same geographic area. We cannot move, they cannot move. So as we, based on our vision that the Abraham Accord could create an arc of stability for the region based on economic interests, our view in UAE, that might also bring Iran to the same conclusion that let's start from those five which we can cooperate on, and might Iran also, as Israeli, they saw the opportunity with normalization is coming more. Maybe also the Iranian will see that with good relation with the neighborhood, it is more profitable, more beneficial for them, and moving from zero-sum game to win-win position.
Matthias also asked about whether the dialogue between the UAE and Iran meant that military cooperation between the two countries could only go so far.
Look, we are looking to the military aspect as something we can enhance our military capabilities. But since we signed the Abraham Accord, many officials, Emirati officials, they said this accord is not against Iran or anybody else, okay? And I think the Iranian now are convinced that any cooperation between Emirati and the Israeli, it's not against them. It's a mutual interest between two countries, okay? And there are many areas they are cooperating now. And that's why what I am following the Iranian media, it is not nothing against this visit to UAE or UAE. I didn't read anything against it. So this is also an era because we cannot live, you and us, and even the Iranian, in a region full of crises and wars. We are fed up of wars and crises in this region. We want to live in peace. You want to live in peace. The Iranian as well, they have to come to this conclusion that if they want to live in peace, they have to abandon many things. Maybe it's not easy to convince them in one visit and even in 10 visits. But this is something they might see, if they see something tangible coming from that. Here, UAE is in the middle, can deal with all those, I would say, access, okay? No matter how there are conflicts between them. We have seen this in Sheikh Mohammed visit to Turkey, Sheikh Tahnoum visit to Iran, Prime Minister Bennett coming to UAE, and this is it's I would say a good gesture showing that we have a good future for this region.